Yes, cccDNA in the clinics, it's obvious that you can go for the biopsy. This will not be practical, but we can do that. The methods are not what we would say. They are good enough for research, but they are not yet clinical grade, I would say. There are several efforts to go towards something that is more validated, but is not yet there. There is one initiative led in France by Fabien Zulim. The NRS is a public agency, put together a group that is working or stepping out to work on that. The hepatitis B molecular biology meeting that is more a let's say self-continuing meeting since the 80s with the scientific community, started an activity on that as well, less structured for now, but we are still waiting. The problem is that we have no biomarkers because the S loss is very good in terms of clinics to say that very likely we will have a control of the disease, what Daria was mentioning, and also Raymond. But we will not be sure that cccDNA is not there. Probably it's not important to measure the remnants, but it's different. And e-antigen is not a marker at all because we may well have still ongoing replication in the liver. When you lose e-antigen, you may have reactivation and so on. So I think we are not yet there, and we have really to be careful about selling biomarkers for cccDNA nowadays. Even quantitative S has limited function nowadays.
Massimo, now that you have the microphone anyway, is CCC truly the holy grail? Is that, let's say, if we would be able to eradicate, would we be able to fully cure the disease, or do we need other components? And maybe Stefan can comment that as well as a virologist.
How you do get rid off of the cccDNA? Probably you will need direct targeting of the cccDNA as well as immune control. Probably they will converge on the cccDNA. Cytokines that are produced by the immune system might target the cccDNA, and if you have direct drugs capable, like anti-capsid drugs capable to target some function of the cccDNA, will be good. Epigenetic control will be the different kind of epigenetic control as is envisaged in HIV, but still might be a target. But finally, targeting the cccDNA is one thing, and you may do with different pathways, but whether we need also to target other components, and I think you are thinking about the integrated HBV DNA that may be there in many chronic carriers. This is another frontier. Let's think about cccDNA now, and let's go over. Perhaps the CRISPR-Cas might be good for that as well, or the immune system may eliminate the infected. But we have very, very limited knowledge nowadays. Even the Roggenhoff paper in the Woodchuck, that is a pivotal paper, very important one, did not measure cccDNA pool yet. So we do not know what the immune system recovery is translating into. So we are still, I would say, we have to put good science behind the hope, as Raymond would say before.
So to the clinicians in the audience, if you have a patient who spontaneously is cured of hepatitis B, so-called cured, if you start searching with a biopsy for cccDNA, do you find it?
Yes.
Yes, you may. I mean, it depends how many patients you need to be sure how many of the statistics. Not so many patients were biopsied in those conditions, but few patients were biopsied, and in some of these patients, the cccDNA and the pregenomic RNA, that means the cccDNA is active, was found.
So one has to find out if it's a functional cccDNA or it's damaged.
That is, cccDNA alone or transcription are two different levels.